Jason, how's things? I don't know what the quality is like. Everyone can hear me and see me. Christopher, how are you getting on? What's on my t-shirt? Don't know. How are we doing? How is everyone enjoying Halloween? All good here. Sound and picture is fine. Good stuff. So how is everyone getting on? What have you all been up to? The lag is annoying. See if I can sort the lag out. Nick, how are we doing? Hi mate, how are you been? Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween too. Same shit, different day here. Nothing exciting. So, yeah. Rocking one of my new Bodgit and Leggit t-shirts. The white design. The white ones are different to the colours. There's design on it. So what has everyone been up to? Or what is everyone up to at the minute? And where are we from? What part of the world? Mark, how are we doing? Panda, how are we doing? Happy Halloween. Good evening to you as well, sir. I don't know what's happening with the if I can sort of log out, just give me a second, because I'm looking at the camera there and then the screen here and there's a huge lag. Croydon, Friday night. The Man Called X. That's a great YouTube name. It's a great handle. Manchester. Dave, how are we doing? Well, we'll be going to the shed. Update you, put ramps up in the shed. I'm still doing mobile stuff, but there's kind of a little bit of a twist, which you'll kind of see in other videos. I think I've done other videos as well on it, just haven't mentioned it, if that makes sense. But no, still doing mobile stuff, just have, I'll explain it in another video, it'll be easier. But yeah, I do have kind of another workshop. But the mobile stuff is still great because it's in a lot of ways, it's good. Oxford, or Oxfordshire. So any other news from anybody? What do you think of my background? It needs to be a bit like tighter. What cars will I be working on in the near future? It's hard to say because I don't know what's going to come in, but I know what I'm going to be working very soon on my Cosworth van, so that's going to be good. We're going to be getting a lot of bodywork videos, panel making and welding new panels in and welding and all sorts of stuff. Going to be doing some more work. Actually, there's a lovely Citroen DS coming very soon, which we're going to be doing engine work on, body work on. So that's going to be awesome. Beautiful, one of the most sexiest cars ever made. Then we got more work on the Imp, more work on the 115 Mercedes, and then kind of whatever else comes in. Yes, the background is good, isn't it? It is. Just needs to be tauter. I rushed it. Couldn't get it. Well, I could maybe get it a bit straighter, but you know, looking forward to the DS. Yeah, DS is going to be awesome. DS is going to be awesome. I can't wait. There's going to be a good few videos on that. It's in more or less everyday use. So it's a driver, which is good. What has everyone else been working on? I've got some really cool videos coming up soon. Got some good fuel trim videos coming up. I'm going to be doing some more kind of, I don't know, like, how would I describe it? Like, I've got a car coming in or that I've done that went to a few garages because it said on the, I won't spoil the video, but it gave error codes, and the error codes had another garage replaced a load of parts that the error code said and had nothing to do with them error codes. It's all to do with fuel trims. So what I want to do is I want to do a separate video on understanding fuel trims. I've done a video on understanding ABS sensors, you know, and how they work and stuff. So I'm going to be doing like a technical video on fuel trims, because fuel trims, in this video, if you didn't understand fuel trims, you would have been putting all the parts the other garage put in. But because I saw the fuel trims were bad, I did my diagnosis on the fuel trims, not on the error codes, which made me fix the car. So fuel trims are really important, and they can tell you a lot, and you can do a lot of diagnostics on fuel trims without even getting out of the car. So in other words, you can diagnose a lot of problems without even putting anything on. I did use kind of some what we call specialist tools just to show people, you know, what you can and can't do. And like I used a smoke machine only because on the video it makes more sense, but you don't. I also explain you don't really need it. So will you make it drive like new? I hope so. Well, I mean, to be fair, it does drive good. It just needs a bit of TLC, so it's not as if it's an issue. Java, how are we doing, mate? Nice to see your video on the old Falkland, on the old V bomber. I say the Falkland bomber, but it's the V bomber. Just brought a cheap version of the chassis. It's not delivered yet from China. It costs 70 quid. I wonder if they're any good. But then again, it's more of who is using them. I've done a video on the chassis, and you know they are good for certain problems. I have got the wireless one, but as long as you can get them in the right place. The reason why I went for the wireless ones is because you can actually, you'll see it on the video, the it shows you like an oscilloscope graph almost, so you can actually see. So rather than just listening to a noise, you can clearly see from the waveform if there's an issue. It's just easier to look at a waveform than say maybe just the noise. Freelander 2, work in progress, but been good for the last month. Vulcan gave up a few critical bits to help the mission. Yeah, they were a serious bomber at their time. Shame that none of them are flying anymore because they're too expensive to keep running, unfortunately. Mitsubishi Outlander going to change. Oh, I think it's a Mitsubishi Outlander going to change a battery. I had a Mitsubishi Outlander in quite recently, actually, and interested in what the main dealer had charged to do a service. Put in the comments what you think they charged to do a service, and all they did was an oil and filter. That's all. So an oil and filter, and they changed the boost pipe. That was it. But what was funny, I say funny, is the list that they gave the customer afterwards to what is wrong with the vehicle. It went in because there was an issue. There was no power. Came back out, and they gave the customer. I've done a video on it, but they gave the customer a big long list of what's wrong with the car, and I won't spoil it. But anyway, basically said, no, look, don't want to fix it. I'm coming to collect it. But they also said, look, we will sell it for you. And they gave him a price that was over half of what it should have been. And he's like, no, not interested. I want my car back. So he goes over there, and they've started cleaning it to put it on the showroom. And he's like, what are you doing? So he takes it with him, and the car is perfect. But they said there's still loads of issues with it. So that was quite funny. So I've done a video on that, and they've, lucky enough, we've got the receipt, and they've listed everything that was wrong with it. So I just went back and just kind of seen what they've said and done it, which was interesting to say the least. 700, you're not far off. You're wrong, but you're not far off. But you're talking what currency are we talking? Sterling? Euros? Even though, to be honest, I think sterling and euros is pretty much similar now, isn't it? Let me see. Go to Google. There we go. I don't know what the exchange rate is at the minute. Live exchange rate. So, amount. No, I want to change that to sterling. Go away. Sterling. Convert. So 700 sterling is 812. My battery dies after 4 days. Have you actually checked your battery? Because it could be a parasitic draw, not necessarily a bad battery. And if your battery isn't getting charged properly, the parasitic draw is going to make it worse. £700. No, it's a bit more. Got to get this Porsche back together. See you later. Have fun, mate. Yeah, I couldn't believe the price when I saw the receipt for oil and filter and a boost pipe. But hey, it'd be nice to get that sort of money myself, I must admit, for doing a quick oil and filter. But I suppose that's why they have a big main dealer sticker outside, don't they? Because they can charge that much. What? Why is my mouse not working? How much is dollars to euros now? Oh, dollars and euros more or less the same. 890 sterling is what? Let me just check that out. 890 sterling, 1,000 euros. Now that's too much. It was close to that in euros. It was a stupid price. I can't remember the exact price, but it was something like 800, 850 something, or 860 something euros, something like that. And then they had, was it 3,600 worth of parts they said needs changing? Yeah, so 3,600, I think it was, or 3,300. Anyway, well over £3,000 that it needed in other parts, supposedly. But yet, the car is driving perfect. So, yeah. You gotta love a main dealer. I don't know who was diagnosing the car. Maybe I can't think of his name. What's the singer's name? It'll come to me. How long? How now? A long time. Parek, how are we doing? What's the singer's name? The guy that's blind. Why can't I think of it? He must have diagnosed it. I can't think of his name. My mind's just gone blank. Unbelievable. What's everyone doing for Halloween anyway? Anything exciting? Was it a bank holiday in the UK as well today? I'm sure it was. I went into Land Rover dealership about 4 years ago and they wanted £85 for a litre of what? Really nice. The one I went to had 3 fixed price, 350, 700 mid and 1,000 for service with different parts for different tyres. Wow. What are you getting for £1,000? Stevie Wonder, that's the fella. Can't think of his name. Oh, yes, Stevie Wonder. Even though there's a video of him out there, the mic stand, you see it on YouTube because people reckon he's not actually blind. The mic stand in front of him is falling and he actually catches it. If he was blind, how would he know? But yeah. So I don't know. But you can see that video on YouTube. Oh, it's not a bank holiday in the UK. It's a bank holiday here. Yeah, so I don't know if he really is blind, but I think Stevie Wonder or someone like him diagnosed this Mitsubishi. What year was it? Is it 2013 or 2015? Outlander. I just thought it was funny how when he went over there, they actually were cleaning it up to put it up for sale because they said they'll sell it for him, and the money that they offered him was ridiculous. I think it was something like 4,000 or 5,000 or something like that. They offered him. They said they'll give him the money for, and he was like, "No." What's the actual name of the holiday in Ireland? There isn't. It's just a bank holiday. There's no actual name. It's just a bank holiday. I'm sure it's because of Halloween, but no, it's just a bank holiday. There's no actual name for it. For £1,000, you get everything. Things they say. Yeah, but what did they say? What are they saying you get for £1,000? I mean, I understand if they're doing a service and brakes and tires and all that. Yeah, I can understand that. But just a service for £1,000, it's not a Ferrari. It's not a Lamborghini. Be interesting to see what they actually do. See, what they say and what they actually do is two completely different things. Because I've heard a story, I don't know if it's true, but the guy would have no reason to lie to me. That a main dealer in Dublin, a Toyota dealer in Dublin, main dealer, every single car that comes through, they put 1040 oil in. That's all they buy in, and they put it in every single car. Supposedly, he has no reason to lie to me. I believe him. That's just crazy. But then, if they get away with it and there's no issues to the warranties out, then they get away with it, don't they? It'd be interesting if someone actually went in and got the oil tested afterwards. My aircon is faulty, so that would cost 700. It is a leak, but we'll have to leave it. Where's the leak? Because normally, again, I say normally, it's not always the case, but normally it's just an O-ring that's leaking in one of the connections. My neighbour does the same oil for everything. 125, how we doing? Gary, how's things? That's what they said the last time I went. 700. Nice. Nice. Why does Vauxhall Insignia have problems with the two-piece pickup in the sump? Why does the seal need replacing? I had a bit of disaster yesterday. I took my 1980 RS200 out, put a rod through the block. Oh. Them cars reliable, but my warranty is finished. Are you talking about the Outlander? Right, so getting back to Liam's question, why is it an issue in them? Well, there's a couple of things why it's an issue. When you get normally in a car, because a lot of cars have two-piece pickups. I was doing a Citroen the other day, two-piece pickup. That's not necessarily the issue. But they had it slightly different, where the seal is inside a plastic housing, which then pushes up against the oil pump. And there's two bolts that keep it pressed together. That's a great system. It can still have issues, but it's a great system. Now, on the other hand, the Insignia have decided to put the seal, which I showed in the video, and the sump comes up and hits it. There's nothing there. So it's just like a press fitting almost, right? So what happens is, if that ever moves, if the sump ever comes down or anything weird happens, you're going to have an air gap. So that's not great, but not that the sump will come down, but you know what I mean. But the other problem is people not servicing it properly. So when it does a regen, especially a diesel, it does DPF regens. You dump diesel into the oil. You just do it all. It's just one of them things. It just happens. Every time you do a force regen, you should really change the oil. So the oil gets watered down over time. And then this seal, because it's a compression fit seal, it's, when it shrinks because of the diesel and everything and just wear and tear, you'll get a gap. And then it can't suck up oil, and then the engine seizes. So there's not just one problem. There's 3 or 4 issues with it that does it. And when I actually did that video, someone turned around and said, because YouTube is such a toxic place at times, and I don't understand. When people, that car's not worth spending that much money on. Well, what's it to you? You're not spending the money. You're just watching a free video. So what does it, if a customer wants to spend 100 grand on a car that's worth 50 quid? It's nothing to do with you. You get some videos out of it. So look, it is what it is. But people just don't agree, and I just don't understand. So one guy turned around and said, why don't you fix it properly? And I was like, well, what do you want me to do? Redesign it. Like, you want me to completely and utterly redesign this sump pickup in these Insignias? And like, do you realize how much that would cost? Hundreds of thousands. It's not just an easy thing. Or you get an engineer and you get him to design it. It's like, are you mental? People are on about all the people spending too much money on a car, and you want me to completely and utterly redesign the sump and the pickup system for this car? Like, are you fucking mental? I just don't understand. And he was completely serious. Don't know. Just don't understand. Just completely don't understand. I need to change my leaking rear shock absorber. Do you think I should change them straight away? Well, it's like everything. Look, I mean, it's always best to change it straight away. It's always best to change both of them, not just one of them. And depending on how your springs are, depending on how, if I don't know if your springs are part of your shock or separate. So again, it's kind of the perfect world to change your springs at the same time. I know it's more money, but you know, it's just better. But if it's really really bad, and you hit a bump wrong, and it could send the car, it could lift that back of the car up and twist it around, and you could be in more trouble than just replacing a couple of shocks. So personally, yes, replace it straight away. But look, in the real world, it comes down to time and money, doesn't it? So all depends on what you can actually afford. But like everything, if you leave something in your car gone, whether it's just a simple bushing, if you leave it for too long, that bushing has a knock-on effect, and it'll cause more and more things to go wrong. So you're going to have that bushing, you know, it's going to cause the wheel to wear. The wheel to wear could cause the track end to wear, could cause the wheel bearing to wear. You know, and before you know it, you had one issue that was relatively cheap to fix, and then you got 3 or 4 issues that are a fortune to fix. So, yeah. It was filled twice with aircon gas, but just find out where the leak is and replace the seal, because I'm sure it's just a seal. It could be a cracked pipe as well. You know, pipes do crack, but normally it's a seal that goes in them. But yeah, just also talking about bloody YouTube comments. The amount of stupid YouTube comments recently I've been having, I just don't understand. I had one. I did a video ages ago. God, it must be 4 or 5 years ago. And it was Sean when he was obviously a lot younger, and he was changing a 12-volt battery on a car. And I think the video title was how to replace a battery without losing your memory or something like that. So as he was doing it, I went bang, and he jumped. And it was funny. He was laughing, I was laughing, it was funny, right? And then someone put down, what a ridiculous, no, what did he say? What a horrible father or something. It was really bad anyway. And I then messaged him back saying it gave me thank you for watching my videos, really appreciate it. It gives me such a warm feeling that you watch my videos. Then he deleted the comment. Then he came back with another comment saying it gives you a warm feeling for scaring him when he's playing with electricity. It's a 12-volt fucking battery, you moron. 12-volt battery. You're not playing with electricity. Even a car with a coil pack that has 50, well, anywhere from 35 to 65,000 volts is not going to kill you. You can put your hand on it. Yes, don't get me wrong. At that sort of voltage, you get a whack and it hurts for a second, but you're not playing, you know, with 13 amps in a house. You're not playing with something that's going to kill you at all. Even like I said, coil packs at 50, 60,000 volts, they're not going to kill you. They're not going to do anything to you. Just people are fucking idiots, absolute idiots. So of course I left him another nice comment and he didn't like it. But like, why go on to a video? This is what I don't understand. How sad do you have to be to go onto a video and make comments like that? Like, what is going on in your world that you have to do that? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Obviously, nothing's going on in your world because that's why you're coming on YouTube videos making stupid fucking comments. Anyway, everything in my car gets replaced straight away, and I always do it in pairs where required. No way I could live myself if something happens. Well, see, that's another thing. Yeah, you know, that is another thing. But it all comes down to money. It's like I had a comment the other day. A guy was asking me, and I was trying to help him, and this is why I just stopped trying to help him in the end because he was just another fucking idiot. He was like, he was doing a leak down test on his injector, and he said one bottle's filling up really quick. Is there any way he can test one injector at a time? And you just can't. So I said, look, if one of your injectors have gone, you're best off replacing all 4, because if your injector's done 100,000 miles and it's gone, your other 3 or 4, whatever, yeah, they've all done the same mileage. So they're going to go, they're not, you know, they're not going to be far before they're going. So if you want to keep your car reliable, which, like, you know, Lawson just said, you know, especially if it's for your family or, you know, your kids or anything like that, you don't want them stranded. So you want to keep it reliable. And I said, look, it's best to replace all 4 injectors. And then he came back, well, I don't want to replace all. I know I said, in the perfect world, it's best to replace all your injectors. But if you've only got the money, just replace the one that's leaking bad. And he's like, well, I want to know if the others are bad before I replace that one. And I'm like, well, you can see from your bottles, if one of them's filling up really quick, if you've still got a 10% difference between the others, you can tell. I said, look, just replace all of them then. Oh, well, in your, what did he say? I said, just replace all 4 of them then, if you're worried, because you was going to maybe replace 2. And then he said, well, from your logic, I should replace the whole car. No, you fucking idiot. When did I say that? Like, you're trying to help someone. I literally spent like an hour with messages going backwards and forwards to try and help him. And then he comes back at that. And I'm just like, do you know what, mate? You're a fucking idiot. Like, what's the fucking point of even trying to help someone when you're a fucking idiot like that? Like, there's just no point. And I just, yeah, forget him. Fucking idiot. Just a fucking idiot. 1.6 diesel Passat, oil pump, wet belt. Then should I? When should I replace them? Oil pump. What's wrong with your oil pump? You don't really need to replace your oil pump unless you've got an issue with oil pressure. Is there any reason why you want to replace your oil pump? I mean, it's no harm, but like at the end of the day, you know, your car's done. They reckon, well, they don't reckon, that's what manufacturers say, that every 100,000 miles you need to replace every single pulley in your car. People don't do it because, you know, they don't really go. Some harmonic balancers go all right, but so, you know, look, in the perfect world, yes, you fresh up your engine, but it just depends what's wrong with the oil pump. The thing is, cars can be money pits. Yes, certainly they can. But also, when people say, I'm going to buy a newer car because it's more reliable, that's just not the case. If you, we'll use an example of a Mondeo. Let's say you buy a 2018 Mondeo, so it's a 2-litre, and you buy a 2005 2-litre Mondeo, right? Now, look, I'm not saying the 2018 Mondeo is not going to be more reliable. It's going to be newer and, you know, blah, blah, blah. But it's going to be more expensive to fix. Where if you've got an older car, but you've had it for a long, long time, you know what you've put into it, whether you put clutches into it, whether you put injectors into it, whatever you've put into it over them 3 or 4 years you've had it, just because the car is older, you've maybe put a lot of money into it. Buying a newer car isn't buying a better car, it's buying a bigger problem, because you could buy a 2018 Mondeo, for example, and them injectors could go. But them injectors are going to cost a lot more than the older one because it's a newer car. They just will. Oil's more expensive. Everything is more expensive because it's a newer car. So your older car, if you've known it for a long time, you know if you put a lot into it, it could be reliable. You buy a newer car, you don't know what the history of that newer car is, and no matter what, everything is more expensive on that newer car. Whether it's brakes, whether it's air filter, doesn't matter. Everything is more expensive. It just will be. Right, where are we now? I have a friend who is an Opel tech and was told the pickup seal has to be changed at 200,000. He said it's called out on the Opel service plan. I've changed them at 160. I would personally do it at 100. I've seen too many of them. I've seen all the ones I've seen have failed way before 200. I would personally do it at 100. That's just me. If I had the car, I would replace it at 100. Just then, you know, you're not guaranteed, but you just got a better chance. That's my opinion. It's like when they say, you know, timing belts can do 120,000 miles and modern cars don't need servicing for 20,000 miles. When they're brand new, you'll get away with it. But when that car's 3 or 4 years old, you're not going to get away with it. You know, service your car every 5,000 miles. End of. Just end of. Doesn't matter what the manufacturers say. Timing belts, if they say it does 80, do them at 60. Just because, but also it's not so much the mileage, it's also the year. That's what people really forget. They'll say a timing belt, well, I haven't done 80,000 miles, I've only done 20,000 miles. But yeah, the timing belt is more than 4 or 5 years old. So it's the same thing. You could put a brand new timing belt on a car, leave it sitting for 4 years, you have to replace it, even if you haven't done 1 mile in it, because the rubber, cracks and deteriorates over time, like everything. And the lesser mileage it does, the more damage and the quicker it will deteriorate. And I've shown this in loads of videos. Buying a low mileage car isn't great. People think it's great. It's okay if you're buying some sort of mad Ferrari or Lamborghini that's worth millions. And if you get one with 5,000 miles, it's worth 2 million, and one with 100,000 miles, it's worth 500,000. I understand it then, but a normal everyday car is low mileage cars are bad. They are bad. Believe me, they are bad. Love watching your videos. The good thing is watching them all in the next few days. Thing is watching them all in a few days, one after the other. You must be bored, mate. Injectors new or reconditioned? Well, again, personally, I go for reconditioned injectors because the guy that I use, he replaces them all with genuine parts. He gives you a 12 months guarantee, and I've never ever had an issue. I've heard of, like everything, people using shit parts and reconditioned injectors and they don't bloody work, or they give you issues. New injectors. Now, my guy, lucky enough, he will tell me, for example, I did, the other day I did injectors on a 1.6 Volkswagen again, and he said, look, I can't fix them for what you can buy them new. Buy new injectors. He says they'll be too expensive to get reconditioned. He'll tell me the truth. So he'll tell me, just like my clutch guy will tell me if I can get away with a dual mass kit or a solid flywheel kit. They know better than anyone. So I always go for reconditioned, but if my pump guy or if my injector guy turns around and says, no, look, I can't do it for the same price the main dealers can do it for, you go new. Normally, though, that's very rare. 98% of the time, I will be getting them reconditioned. Same with pumps. But there is 2% of the times where you just have to go new. But what he'll also do is because some of them, and again, just because you take them all out doesn't mean you need to get them all reconditioned. He goes through them, he puts them on a special machine, and sometimes they just need cleaning. And only a few parts to replace. So in other words, let's just say for round figures, a new injector is 400 quid. And he'll say, right, well, number 1 injector is really bad. That's going to cost you 250 to do. But then number 2 injector wasn't that bad. And you have to replace a few parts, and that's 200. And this one's 180. So the price can vary with different injectors, but you still get your 12 months guarantee. So, which is really good. So that's the way I do it. Keep up the great work. Your videos have helped me a lot with my Freelander. That's what it's all about, mate. Like my car I bought 5 years ago, X-Mobility with 30,000 service by mobility, and everything that has been touched at least failed in the future. Everything that ever been touched might need replaced in the future. Your background has fallen down now. It hasn't. It hasn't. It's still there. It's still there. Hasn't fallen down. Your thoughts on electric cars, hydro cars, and the future? This is a difficult one, because personally, electric cars, no, they're not the way of the future. Unless battery technology changes something unbelievable, which it's just not going to. Electric cars aren't the way of the future. The mining of the nickel, the replacement of all the batteries are a ridiculous price. You get like a Tesla, and you watch the videos on YouTube, the brand new Tesla, the panel gaps are crazy. They won't sell you parts to fix your car. Like, you have to get parts on the black market. You can't, when you go to any, and this is not just Tesla, but any any electric vehicle, when you go into the main dealer, they want to sell you the whole battery. I did a 2008 Honda Civic hybrid, and I filmed it. The main dealer from Dublin told this guy to come to me. That's like nearly 3 hours away. He came to me, oldish guy, because the main dealer couldn't fix it. And the main dealer basically said, look, it's your battery. I'm not going to spoil the video, but they were completely and utterly wrong. Anyway, I'm not going to spoil the video. But he also then said to me, because I asked him, on them Civics, this is where you need to know your cars. On them Civics, if you have pets in your car, especially, you know, dogs that are really kind of furry and hairy, they can block. There's a little motor at the side. So if you're looking at the car, in Ireland, at the back of the driver, but in America, it'd be the back of the passenger, there's a fan. And that's designed to suck in air from the cab, and it cools the battery, because they're not water-cooled batteries, they're air-cooled. But what happens is now this wasn't the issue with the car, but what happens is if you've got pets and stuff in your car, that can clog up and your batteries will overheat. And I asked him, look, have you ever had any pets? Because if you do, it's a thing you need to clean. And he says, no, never had any pets in the car or anything. And I said, okay, that's fine. I said, have you ever heard the fan? Because sometimes you turn the car off. It's a really hot day. The fan will keep going. Or you might hop into the car and you'll hear this whirring noise. And he's had this car since new. And he went back to the main dealer after, I don't know, a few months of him having the car. He says, I can hear this noise in the back. What is it? And they're like, there's no noise in the back. It's fine. He says, no, I can hear a noise. Then he kept going back to the main dealers, and then they basically they said, look, there's nothing wrong with your car. We don't know what the noise is. And it was the fan. They never even knew the bloody fan was there. This is a main dealer. And it's a thing that needs to be cleaned out every so often, especially if you have pets in your car. So I don't think battery powered. And the other thing is, there's no country in the world at the minute that if everyone went to electric vehicles, there's no country in the world that has the power to charge, all the electric cars in the world. If everyone was to plug their car in at night, so I'm talking any country, and everyone had electric vehicles, there's physically not enough power in any country to power all these. And then the issue is, if you get into a country, say like Ireland, for example, right? Ireland, the government don't believe in nuclear power stations, right? So, and nuclear power stations, whether you love it or hate it, unfortunately, at the minute with our technology, nuclear power stations are one of the best forms of energy we have. Yes, they have their issues, but as regards cleanest energy, believe it or not, and this has been proven, it's the cleanest form of power stations we have at the minute. So Ireland don't believe in that, and Ireland said they'll never get an electric power plant. So if everyone went to electric cars, Ireland would have to burn more fossil fuels, lots more, which causes more pollution. So it's like you're trying to be green, but if everyone went to electric cars in Ireland, the fossil fuel burning would be out of control to try and charge all these cars. The fumes it's kicking into the air would be just unbelievable. Then the actual making of all these electric cars, it's been proven that the carbon footprint of most electric cars is higher than any petrol or diesel engine will ever produce in its life. Once it's made, yes, it's okay. It's zero. But it's not really zero, because you can't just replace little bits of that car, because the main dealer wants to buy you everything. So you're going to have a lot of, if electric cars, like all the governments in the world, they are trying to stop people buying petrol and diesel cars, they're making go to electric. They're all, and the other thing is, when they all go to electric, this is also crazy. This is also a thing that I haven't heard people talking about. Again, let's imagine that there is enough power in the world to power all these electric cars, right? Let's just imagine there is, which there isn't, but let's just imagine there is. In Ireland, for a start, the tax on fuel is bananas, absolutely crazy on petrol and diesel. The tax is just unbelievable. They're going to lose billions and billions of pounds every year because no one's going to be buying fuel. So then they're going to have to put other stuff up. So your electric's going to go up, because that's the easiest thing they can put up. So your car, your electric car, is going to cost a fortune to charge, and then to charge that electric car, they have to burn more fossil fuels. It's fucking stupid. You see the big cycle here. It's just I don't know. Look, I'm not saying electric cars in some form or another isn't better for the environment, even though I actually don't think it is at the minute. Hydrogen cars, that's the way of the future. For me, I think that's the way of the future. But I don't know. Look, it's a big debate, and you can just go on and on and on, because there's certain people out there that say, yeah, electric cars are the best, but yet they won't tell you about, all the kids mining the nickel and everything and dying to make your electric car. So all these tree huggers thinking they're doing great, but they won't talk about all the bad stuff that goes on. They'll only tell you about, oh yeah, but it's zero emissions. But okay, so you've got a car, when it gets a few years old, that costs 20, 30, 40 grand for a battery. And when the car is new, you're not going to have an issue. But when you have people that can't afford that, so they buy a car, let's just say they buy an electric car for 5 grand, right? Let's imagine all the cars in the world are electric. So they buy an electric car for 5 grand. That battery pack is maybe 30 grand. So that electric car, that battery pack's half fucked anyway. So because it's only 5 grand. So when that battery pack goes, that person couldn't afford a newer car. That's why they bought a cheaper car, because they're not going to be able to afford to repair it. So it's going to go back into a scrapyard. So all these things, all these cars, and everything's going to be in a scrapyard because they're too expensive to fix. It's happening now, even with ordinary cars. But can you see the cycle? The cycle doesn't make fucking sense. The fossil fuels burning, everything is it's ridiculous. People think they're doing better, but they're not. We are literally 1 step forward, 3 steps back. It's just crazy. But that's my opinion. Tell me what you think. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I'm right? Put it down in the comments. It'd be interesting to see. But yeah. What's your favourite range of cars to work on? To work on. That's kind of difficult, because all cars have their own problems to work on. Like I was doing a Peugeot the other day, doing injectors on a Peugeot at the back of the engine. Some of the Fords, the injectors, it's a Peugeot engine, the back of the engine. So that's a nightmare. But yet that engine then has some really easy things to work on. I don't know what my favorite car to work, because they all have problems. BMWs, the filters, where the filters are a nightmare. I don't know. I'm trying to think, what's the easiest car to work on? I don't even know what the easiest car is to work on. I'm just thinking normal kind of everyday servicing, because that's the thing you would do most common. And some of the brakes on the Golfs and stuff like that, they're brilliant, because the way the caliper is designed, or the carrier, you don't have to take the carrier off. The brake disc can just come out, so you don't have to take the carrier off. That saves so much time. That's brilliant. But not all cars do that. Don't know. I'll have to think about that. All the best, Leon. It's my bedtime. See you later, mate. Freddie was on the radio yesterday talking about some crap. What do you think about the Range Rover Evoque? Haven't really worked on them, to be honest. I know Range Rovers have a bad rep at work. I like Range Rovers. I like the big Range Rovers. I like the Overfinches. I like the big boys. Don't particularly like the smaller ones. Like, it's not that I don't like them. I just prefer, like, even the Sport. If I was going to get a Range Rover, I'd get the big Overfinch. I just prefer when they're bigger. That's just me. I've worked on a few Range Rovers in the past. And yeah, it looks like everything. This is what I was even saying about electric cars. Look, they're expensive to buy, and people have such a bad rep. So when they get older, people say they're crap. Well, again, it's like everything. just wait till Teslas and everything get really old, and to the point where you're going to have a car that's practically worthless because it's not worth fixing. It's going to be the same thing, and people just like to shit on things because they say it's crap. But then the technology that's in a lot of them Range Rovers, they are expensive. But then that's the same as Tesla or anything like that. So it'd be interesting to see what people are going to think. When the electric cars kind of get old and not worth fixing. JCB has put a lot of R&D into hydrogen to replace the diesel systems. I found it on YouTube somewhere, worth a look. Yeah, look, hydrogen, I personally think at the minute is definitely the best way to go. I mean, it won't be long. I know this might sound crazy. It could be 1,000 years, and in relative space terms, 1,000 years is nothing. Considering the planet is 4.5 billion years old. Depending on what religion you believe or religion you are in. But anyway, it's just 4.5 billion years old. So 1,000 years is nothing. We will have eventually, I think, we'll have like little, well, unless look, like I was saying before, the best form of power plants at the minute is nuclear. It just is. Just look at the actual things. It just is. Nuclear is the way to go at the minute. Now, once they start getting nuclear fusion going, that's just going to change everything. It won't be long until we have little nuclear power plants in our car. That it's going to be tiny compared to what an engine is, and it'll just go forever. And you have all the power you need, and it'll just go forever. No charging, no nothing, no absolute. Just go forever. And once that little nuclear power plant dies in that car, it's not going to be worth anything anyway. That's going to be the future, unless something changes, obviously, unless we find some sort of other thing. But there was an interesting study in Germany has gone. They've gone a lot of wind power, and they've taken away nuclear power stations, where France has gone the other way. France has more nuclear power stations than anyone on the planet. And as regards, and this is true, check it out, this is completely true, as regards pollution, I can't remember the exact figures, so these figures aren't going to be the exact figures, but let's imagine in the world, Germany are 4th in the pollution. So that Germany, as regards a country, does their pollution is really, really high. Where France, on the other hand, is like 14. Like I said, I've got the numbers wrong, but the gap in between them is more or less the same. France is 14. So the thing is, the nuclear power it's been proven from France to Germany that it's cleaner. It's been proven. So that there just goes to show. And Germany are struggling, to power stuff now, especially with what's happening. They're relying on gas. They're relying on stuff that they don't produce themselves. Look what's happening in the world. Germany need that gas, where France don't, as regards to run their power, things. To run everything else, you need gas, but you know what I mean. So, and there was another interesting thing which just blew my mind. Nuclear power is relatively new. Let's face it, is World War II in the 40s, relatively new technology, where wind power and solar power, is sorry. Nuclear power has been in the 40s, where wind power and solar power is really kind of new compared to nuclear power. It's a new way of thinking. There wasn't any. I'm not saying there wasn't any wind power stuff in the 40s, but it's now really coming to, people are saying it's better. But get this, there's a study, and I can't remember the exact figures, but there's a study on how many people have died for every power station thing we have. So in other words, how many people have died in nuclear power accidents? Now, this is since nuclear power has been invented. And this is all the Chernobyl explosions. It's the Japanese explosions. It's every explosion, everything that's ever happened. Now, I can't remember the exact figures. Don't hold me to the figures. But it's something like per billion kilowatts produced, something along them lines. 90 people have died in nuclear power accidents in the whole world since it's ever been made, right? So whatever, if it's 1 billion watts of power, 90 people have been made. I can't remember the exact figures, but I know it's 90 people, whatever they're putting their bases on. And wind farm or wind farms and stuff like that is 130. So more people have died in that than nuclear power, because people say nuclear power is unsafe. More people have died in renewable energies, you could say, than nuclear energy. So there you go. That's scary to think, but it's true. It's 100% true. So you can make up your mind what you think is better. Personally, at the minute, I think nuclear power is the way to go, as long as it's handled properly. Yes, there's been accidents, but less people have died. And nuclear power has been going for 3 or 4 times longer than what we've been using wind power for. So, and less people have died. So what does that tell you? It says it's better. It just is. And once they start, at the minute, I think they can recycle, is it 95% of nuclear waste? There's just a 5% they can't. And if someone can figure out how to recycle that, then nuclear power is without doubt the best form, because you can recycle everything. You know, these windmills, these big huge windmills that cost billions of pounds to make, they're basically run on batteries, and then batteries have to be changed. You can't recycle them to, well, I suppose you can to a degree, but they're not great as regards nuclear power. So it won't be long until we have nuclear powered engines. Can you imagine that, just hopping into your car? But also, can you imagine, say, I don't know, someone dodgy trying to do work on the old nuclear power plant in your car? I mean, I can see issues with it, but I think in another 1,000 years' time or 2,000 years, they'll have it down to a T where it's going to be safe. You know, if you're going to have accidents, I mean, look, if you have accidents in electric cars, they can go up, and in petrol and diesel cars, they can go up. Look, there's nothing that's perfect. There just isn't. But there's things that are better than others. And with you on electric cars, yeah, I really don't think. Look, the electric cars, the way the torque comes in, the way the power works, and it's brilliant technology. And I'm not saying we should give it up. Not saying that at all. But I just don't think we need to rely on it as the only form of transport. I think we need to come up with something different. And again, I'm not saying petrol and diesels is the way to go forward either, but I also don't think electric is either. Hybrids are the best, unless for electric. So I think hybrids at the minute are the best. You know, if you're going to go for a car, I think hybrids have kind of the best of both worlds. Because you've still got your engine that, you know, especially if the engine you know, keeps the battery charged, you got the best of both worlds then. So what's the life of the mechanic? Is it dead trade? It's never going to be a dead trade, because no matter what you've got in your car, whether it's battery, whether it's petrol, whether it's diesel, whether it's nuclear power, I know that sounds crazy, but someone in 1,000 years' time is going to watch this video and says he was the first person to say nuclear powered cars. It's going to happen, I'm telling you. It's not, because you're always going to need someone to fix that. Whatever power plant you have in your vehicle, you're always going to need someone to fix it. The problem, I think, with mechanics is I'm too stupid to do anything else. If I could do something else, I wouldn't be a mechanic, because it's a horrible, horrible trade. And the reason why it's a horrible trade is because you're just a grease monkey. You're just a mechanic. No one gives a fuck. No one thinks you actually do anything. You just change stuff. No one. You don't get any credit for it. Whether if you're a doctor or a lawyer, oh, look at that person. They're a doctor. They're a lawyer. They're successful. They've got money. Where, think of it this way. And I was saying this to someone the other day, and I think this is true. The most critical job in the world is a mechanic. There is no other job in the world that is more important than a mechanic, and I'll explain why. And tell me if you think this is true. Before I get onto that, another bad thing about mechanics is the tools you need. You can become a doctor. Now I know it takes a lot of money and a lot of schooling, but once you're qualified, you know, if you're just a general practitioner, you're just in your office, you don't need a lot of tools. Where a mechanic constantly needs to spend thousands, tens of thousands every year to keep update with all the new tools, all the new scan tools. The tooling is, there's no other trade in the world. You're a joiner, 3 or 4 grand will buy you every tool you ever need to be a joiner, and that's it. You might every 3 or 4 years have to buy a new drill. That's it. That's, you know, the tooling, and you get paid more than a mechanic. Anyway, the reason why I think a mechanic is the most important job in the world is no matter where you are in the world, you can get people to fill every job. So what I mean is, we'll just use Ireland as an example, right? So there's 4 million people in Ireland. Out of them 4 million people, you can get every person you need. So you can get a doctor, because there's going to be someone that is born that is clever enough or whatever to be a doctor, to be a nurse, to be a lawyer, to, you know, to anything, right? Absolutely anything, to stack shelves in Tesco's. You're always going to find someone within your country to fill them jobs, right? Even a mechanic, you're going to find someone in that country. But if you want to start transporting things from one country to another in an airplane, yes, you need a designer, but you need a mechanic to keep that going. So you can get someone that designs it, but if you've got no mechanic, it's useless. You can get someone design the best thing in the world, but if no one can repair it and make it, it's fucking useless. So to get things to other countries, and, you know, not every country can provide for themselves. And what I mean by that is, you know, there is certain things that every country needs to get from another country. Like, you're not going to really be able to grow, you know, bananas in Ireland as such to you know, to get everyone in Ireland, because the weather isn't there. So you have to go to another country to bring them bananas in. Like coal, gas, you know, Ireland doesn't have, you know, a big reserve of oil, so they have to go to another country, whatever country has the oil, and bring it in. But without a mechanic to repair that plane, that boat, that vehicle, that lorry, whatever it is, you're not going to be able to do it. You see what I'm saying? So the mechanic is the most important job in the world, but you get shit on the most. And if it wasn't for mechanics, people wouldn't be able to get to their jobs. How would you get to your job if there wasn't mechanics? You could be, doesn't matter, you could be earning the most money in the world, but if you haven't got a vehicle to get to your job, or you could say, well, okay, you just use public transport, but you still need a mechanic to fix that bus, that taxi, that whatever it is. It's the most important job in the world. Without mechanics, we wouldn't be going to different countries. We wouldn't be importing stuff in. We wouldn't be doing anything. You'd just be your own little island and your own little country, whatever that happens to be in the world. You see, the most important job in the world. Tell me if you agree, or you just think I'm talking shit. But it's true. You know, a doctor just guesses, basically. Gives you you got a headache, it gives you a tablet. If it doesn't work, you come back and gives you another tablet. You know, but you can get them people in your own country. But if you want to go and fly to another country, you need a mechanic. Yes, and you could say, well, hold on, you need a pilot. I'm not disputing you don't need a pilot to fly a plane, but without a mechanic, that pilot is useless. What's he going to do? He can fly the plane, but when it gets to the other end and it needs to be fixed, what's he going to do? He's not going to be able to do anything. So, yes, I'm not saying you don't need the designers, the people that fly planes or whatever. Yes, of course you do. But the most important part of getting any materials in or out your country is a mechanic. Think about it. What's the most common thing that on most countries' roads is lorries? You know, bringing stuff to Tesco's, to Morrison's, wherever it happens to be. But then that lorry goes to a port and picks up the stuff from a, you know, from a ferry, or goes to an airport and picks up the stuff from the airport. It's all mechanics. The mechanics make the world go round. It's a fact. But no one, if you say that to someone, especially you say that to someone high up, they'll just laugh at you, because they'll say, well, no, you don't need mechanics. If there wasn't such thing as a mechanic, there'd be no one traveling in any country, and you'd just be your own little island. Fact. Fact. Mark, he agrees. So yeah, it's true. And like I said, when I was talking to someone about this, I've talked to a few people about this, and it's only when they turn around and say, oh, actually, yeah, do you know what? You're right. Because it's true. You know, there's if it wasn't for mechanics, there is nothing one country couldn't do. So in other words, all the people you need to run that country will be in your country. The hell was that? But you need the mechanic to go out of your country or even to transport you within that country. Think about it. See, fucking mind blowing. But you get shit on. No one respects you. The tools you have to buy is fucking ridiculous. Yeah, look, it's just crazy. Leon, how did you end up in Ireland? Love the channel. Keep up the great work. Thanks a lot, mate. What is living in Ireland compared to the UK? Well, I was only like 11 when I left the UK, so can't really compare it. I've been in Ireland longer than I've been in the UK. There's more stuff to do in the UK, you know, because it's bigger. Just like, I suppose, any bigger country, there's more stuff to do because there's more people. So you can kind of specialize in certain things. Like there's a scrapyard in England that just specializes in scrapping Fiestas. That's all they do. You could never do that in Ireland because there's not enough people that have Fiestas. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's a lot more to do in the UK. You know, more theme parks. There's the thing that's kind of annoying about Ireland is there's no real tracks. There is a couple of tracks, but like especially if you're a car guy, there's a lot of tracks you can go to in the UK compared to Ireland. But then the people in Ireland are, you know, just some of the best people in the world. It's a lovely place. Yeah, the weather's shit, but the weather's shit in the UK as well. So, you know, and people always say, oh, you know, Ireland, it's wet, it's this, it's that, you know. But I always say to them, look, hold on. Right, so Ireland, yes, it rains a lot compared to, say, somewhere in America, Florida or whatever. But we know when we come back home, yes, we might have a couple of days of rain, but we're not going to have a tornado. We're not going to have an earthquake. We're not going to have, like, you know, these things you get in other countries. You can be pretty much certain your house is going to be there when you get back from work. So I would put up with the rain. I will put up with the weather, you know, then rather than having, you know, hurricanes and tornadoes and all that sort of stuff. That's just me. It doesn't bother me. But yeah, there's more stuff to do in the UK. But just like I suppose if you lived, say, from the UK to America and you came back, you'd say, well, there's more stuff to do in America because there's more people there. So, you know, it's relative. But Ireland's great, absolutely great. Yes, yeah, but my granddad and uncle used to tell me Ireland has the best carp fishing pound next to. Yeah, the fishing in Ireland is fantastic. That has to be said. Absolutely. You got the River Shannon, some of the best coarse fishing there. You've got a very, very famous game fishing in Sligo for salmon. Some of the best game fishing for salmon in Ireland is in Sligo. Not Sligo. Oh, Bobby Moore used to go there a lot. Oh, where is it? It'll come to me. It'll come to me. It wasn't Sligo. Anyway, yeah, fishing islands, fucking brilliant. I was in Ireland last week in Wicklow, Bray. Fucking expensive, but look, yeah, it is. Ireland is fucking ridiculously expensive, like stupidly expensive. It's only when you come here. It's like that's the reason why I don't mention prices a lot in my videos, because every time I've mentioned a price in my video and I say, oh, this is €100, you just get, oh, well, you're screwing the customer. In the UK, that's only 30 quid. Yeah, that's the fucking UK. This is Ireland. You know, the bad part about Ireland is, like, sometimes I have to wait 3 or 4 days for parts. I've had to wait a couple of weeks for parts before, and they always come from the UK. If the UK doesn't have them, we're screwed. But now, because the UK is out of the EU, we have to pay import duty and taxes, and it's absolutely ridiculous. The prices of stuff it was always expensive in Ireland anyway, but it's gone through the roof now. And there are certain people that have never had to wait for parts. You know, they order a part. Like I went to the main dealer a few months ago, 2005 Renault Megane, automatic. ABS sensor went, so it wasn't changing gear properly because, you know, it's an automatic. It needs the sensors. There is a master sensor, but when one of them dies, it still needs the sensor to kind of know when to change gear and stuff. So I went to the main dealer, 2005. No, we don't make them anymore. Can't get them. Because the aftermarket sensors, especially with stuff like that, I just don't like using them. I quickly went onto eBay just for the crack, eBay UK, and they were fucking hundreds of sensors, a third of the cost, genuine sensor. And I just couldn't get them here. And I guarantee you, I go to the UK, I could go to a main dealer, they're going to have some, they just will. But I couldn't get them. And the customer, she didn't want to wait, because for me to order something from the UK now could take up to 2 weeks. If it gets held in customs, it could take up a month to get to me. And then depending on what customs say the price is worth, you'll get charged from what they say it's worth. That's another thing. So the customer couldn't wait that long. She needed a car, so I had to get an aftermarket one. Now, lucky enough, at the minute, it's still working, but that is what it is. And the aftermarket one was very expensive. But that's just the way it is. You kind of have to accept it. So that's why I don't mention price, because I know I'll get someone. But the problem is, let's just imagine you buy something in the UK, right? And we'll use an ABS sensor as an example. Let's say it's 100 quid, 100 sterling. But when it gets to customs here, if it was 100 quid in the UK, I guarantee you that sensor here would be 250 euros from the main dealer. So the customs will put the price of 250, not what you've paid for it. Even if you can prove what you've paid for it, it makes no difference. They'll say this item in Ireland's worth 250. So you have to pay the import duty and the tax on 250 euros, not £100 that you've paid for the part. So then that 100 quid, before you know it, with import duty and tax, could be, you know, could be an extra, another 100 quid on top of it. So you'll more or less have to double the price of parts. It is ridiculous. I know someone that was looking at a camper van not that long ago, right? Because you could always used to buy a car in the UK and bring it over, and it was always a lot cheaper, even after paying import duty on it. But now there's tax and there's import duty, there's all sorts. So if you get a camper van, right, that's worth 40,000 euros in England. So let's imagine it's on English plates, and you want to bring that to Ireland, right? All you're doing to it is putting it from English plates to Irish plates. That is it. You're not making it better, making it worse, not doing anything. You are just you're changing the number plate from an English number plate to an Irish number plate. That £40,000 camper, and this is another thing, if you only spent 10 grand on that camper, they'll say no, it's worth 40. And you can't argue. There's nothing you can do. If they say it's worth 40, it doesn't matter what you've paid for it. You could have got it for free. It makes no difference. But put down in the comments what you think the import duty, the tax, the VAT, and there's another thing that I can't think. There's another thing that there's 4 things you have to pay for on that camper. But get this, right? The tax. So let's say I won't say the figure, but put it down what you think it is. But let's say, so you spend 40 grand on it. Then let's just say they'll put another 10 grand for import duty on it. So let's say that's 50,000. They'll charge you the VAT on the whole thing, not the 40,000. They'll charge you the VAT on the whole thing. So put down in the comments what you think a £40,000 camper would be if you was to buy it from England now. Now there is a 10%. I can't remember the exact thing. There's one thing that costs 10%, but you might not get charged. It's just pot luck if you get charged this extra 10%. But we'll just use this extra 10% now. So that £40,000 camper, how much do you think you would have to pay to bring it into Ireland? Sorry, 40,000 sterling. Sorry. So it's 40,000 sterling. But once you bring it into Ireland, you do all them things. What is it costing you in euros at the end of it? And what is 40 grand now in sterling? Just put it here. 40,000. 40,000 sterling now at today's exchange rate is 46,000 euros. So 46,000 euros, that's what it is. So put down in the comments what you think it would be once you've actually got it in. You need someone with a Northern Ireland address to get from the UK. Yeah, you can do that for you know, just for normal parts. Just for normal parts, but not for, you know, vehicles and stuff like that. It makes no, you can't do it. But for, yeah, for parts, 100%, you can. If you got someone in the north, you can do that. We'll say 72,000. See if I can get. So what is it? 46. No, hold on. If I go minus. Overall 64. Oh. Just do that one more time. So that equals that. So in import duty and tax, just to change it to an Irish vehicle, and like I said, all you have done is got an Irish number plate on the front of that vehicle. That's it. It will cost you in taxes 34,000 euros. It comes in at over 80 grand, 80,000 euros. That's the problem. And that's not anything to do with England. That's to do with the Irish government. The VRT, I've heard on all the vehicles that they actually that bring in, even before Brexit, it was against the law. It's against the EU law for the island to be charging you these VATs and tax rates, right? Every single year, Ireland gets fined from the EU, but as a country. So the EU fines the country of Ireland. But the fine is less than what they bring in. So let's just imagine, I don't know the figures, but let's imagine they get £5 billion a year from all this import duty and tax and blah, blah, blah. But the fine may be $1 billion. So they'll pay the $1 billion to the EU, but they've still got an extra $4 billion. Now, obviously, I don't know the figures. I'm not saying it's that high, but they get more than the fine. So they keep doing it. They keep breaking the EU law. Now, if you broke laws, you wouldn't get away with it, but because it's a country, they keep breaking the EU laws, and they pay the fine. You know, they get fined, so they pay the fine, but they get more money than the fine is. So they keep doing it. You know, it makes sense. I understand. Like if I was running a business and I was getting fined, but I'm making 10 times more than the fine, you're going to keep doing it because it's legal. You pay the fine, and happy days. No one can say anything to you. But it's still fucking annoying when it, you know, it starts affecting you. And normally, especially the vehicles in the UK, they're normally better looked after. This is just a fact. You ask any Irish person, the reason why they like buying cars in the UK is because they're looked after better. But not only that, the spec is higher. So if you get, we'll just use a 2014 Golf. And a 2014 Golf in the UK, the spec's going to be higher. The engine, the horsepower is going to be higher, even if it's the 2-litre diesel. Just it will be, you know, it'll have leather seats, it'll have electric windows front and back. It's just as a higher spec. It's just one of them things. I don't know why, but it's a true fact that you know, you won't find. I remember I was at a car show once. You won't find big, powerful cars in Ireland. Now, I'm not, of course, there's Ferraris, Lamborghinis, there's all that, you know, for the rich people. I'm just talking about the average normal Joe. You know, in the UK, you'll find, like my ST Mondeo. I had an ST Mondeo. It was 2.2 litre diesel. That car, just to tax for a year, just to tax, was 940 or 960 euros just to tax, because it was a 2.2. Just to tax. That same car in England, I think, is like 130, 150 sterling to tax. Someone in the UK will tell me. It's maybe 200 quid anyway. It's not a lot. But the tax in Ireland, so people have little engine cars, because the smaller the engine car you've got, the less tax you pay. In the UK, you can have a hybrid car. That is, my sister's car is a hybrid car. In the UK, it's free. There's no tax on it. It's completely free. But in Ireland, it's 190 euros to tax for the year, which isn't a lot of money compared to what other people are paying. But still, in the UK, it's free. There's no tax on it. It's completely free. The car tax in Ireland is just out of this world. 100% agree. It's crazy what tax is put on imports. Yeah, it's crazy. Higher spec. So that's why people don't, you don't really have, you wouldn't see a lot of just like, 2 liters, like the Mondeo. Use the Mondeo again as an example. The ST Mondeo, the petrol version. You won't find them here. You just won't find them. And even if you did, let's just say, again, just using round figures, let's say a 2008, 2010 ST Mondeo in the UK, let's just say it's worth £5,000, right? I don't know what it's worth, but we'll just say, let's just imagine it was worth £5,000, because it's a car that, anyone can buy. The tax is relatively cheap. Yes, it's more expensive to maybe insure and run, but, it's just a kind of what would be classed as a normalish car. Here, that same car, if it was worth £5,000 in the UK, that same car is maybe worth 500 here, because no one wants to spend. And that for the petrol version ST Mondeo here would be, is it 1,600 or 1,800 euros to tax? So no one wants it. It's nearly £2,000 to tax for a year. The car is worthless, absolutely worthless, because who's going to spend, nearly £2,000 a year to tax the car that's only worth a few? No one's going to do it. It makes the car worthless. So you can actually get some bargains in Ireland. I know a lot of people that buy them type of cars from Ireland and take them back to the UK because they're a hell of a lot cheaper. Well, they used to before Brexit. That's all gone now. But yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So you don't have the 40-year tax rule and the MOT? Yes, we do. My Mark 1 Escort is, well, I think it's 56 euros now. It's maybe gone up. About 56 euros the tax for the year once it goes over 30 years old. Once your car is 1980 downwards, you don't have to get NCT. But if it's 1980 up, you have to get an NCT. It used to be 30 years old, NCT exempt. But now they've done it to 1980 down. I don't mind the MOT or the NCT, should I say. I don't mind that if your car is 100 years old, it needs to have a test. Because let's face it, there's, the older your car, the chances are there's more stuff go wrong with it. But yes, they are cheaper to tax. And when a car starts getting 30 years old, like my Cosy, for example, once that car, because that car used to be 720 euros to tax. My Cosworth was 720 euros to tax for the year because it was 2 litre. Now that car is down on the cheap bracket, it automatically makes that car worth a lot more money because it's so much cheaper to tax. It means you can buy that car and you don't have to, you don't have to worry, I have to spend, nearly 1,000 euros on this car just to tax it, where, I'm only driving it 3 or 4 times a year. I don't want to spend that sort of money. So now it's obviously a hell of a lot cheaper, but to buy that car, it goes up thousands because it's cheaper to tax. They know Outlanders are always broken down. Thought no tax. It's funny how you still have to pay tax, insurance, and MOT displayed in your car window in Ireland. Yeah, but I actually like that. I know, because we in Ireland, so if you don't know, you've got tax, you've got insurance, and you've got a DOE for a commercial vehicle, you've got an NCT for a car. But we have 3 separate discs in your car, and you have to put them on your car windscreen at all times. So when you come to a checkpoint, the cops can easily see if you've got that. It's quick and easy for them. I actually like it. It's not a problem. And they can, even though you could, especially with insurance, you could technically cancel it, but you still have the disc. but it's just handy. It's like the Irish number plates, some of the best number plates in the world, I think. I like the American number plates because you can put any word you want as long as it's not like, you know, racist or hatred or anything like that. You can have anything you want. Where in Ireland, you have the year, so it'll say 10, which is 2010. Then you'll have D, in other words, Dublin, because it was registered in Dublin first. Or you would have G for Galway, MO for Mayo, T for Tipperary. Tipperary used to be Tipperary North. Anyway, and then you have the numbers at the end is how many cars were registered in that particular time. So if you had 10 D 184, that means your car is 2010. You can tell straight away what the year. You can tell where it was registered, what city, or not what city, but what I forgot. Not province, bloody county, what county it was registered in, and the numbers is how many cars. So if you've got 500, that means yours was the 500th car to get registered in Dublin in the year 2010. It's simple. You can tell the year of the car straight away. It's brilliant. I love it. Nice and simple, easy number plates to read. Where like in America, when you have, you know, just a word on your number plate, unless you really know the car, you're not going to know what year it is. Like, you know, a Mark III Mondeo goes from this year to that year. You're not going to be in Ireland, bang, instantly you can tell. The UK is the same, but the UK used to be, you know, used to have the letters of the alphabet to what car it is. And if you didn't know exactly what D mean or P means or anything like that, it would take you a while to work it out. Where in Ireland, it's just straightforward. It's easy. I love the Irish number plates. It really is. It really is good. You need a good Reliant scimitar. I've actually, I've seen a couple of them recently. Actually, must admit, had a few issues with mine, but now good. Country, lol. But yeah, it's crazy. Some of the things, but the tax here in Ireland for vehicle tax a year is just crazy. And then when hybrid cars were first coming out, and they said, "Oh, you buy a hybrid car, we'll give you free tax." And then they backtracked on that. Oh, well, actually, no, we won't give you free tax. We'll just make it really cheap. I think at the time, I could be wrong, but I think at the time, if you was to buy a hybrid car, it was like 80 quid to tax for the year, which was unbelievably cheap. It was like a classic car, unbelievably cheap. But that now 80 quid has gone up to nearly 200 quid. It's ridiculous, but they get away with it. And it's just one of them things everyone knows you have to pay. But in England, it's slightly different. In England, you might buy a car because you like a car. You know, oh yeah, I like that, you know, 2.5 litre engine. I like that 3 litre engine. I like, you know, whatever, because it's got more power. It's got, but in Ireland, you can't buy. You have to think, well, do I want to spend 1,000 quid a year on tax on a 2 litre or 2.2, or do I get a 1.6 and it's only 500? So this is the problem. You can't. So that's why, and I'll even get it in comments when people say, you know, oh, that's a 1 litre or 1.1 or 1.2 and 1.6. You'll very rarely see an engine in a car on my videos more than a 2 litre, because they're just too expensive. So people don't get them. And it's like, you know, especially in America, they have V8s and V6s for, you know, your bloody lawnmower. We just can't have it in Ireland. Well, you can have it in Ireland, but, you know, 5 litre V8 is 2.5 grand to tax. Are you going to spend €2,500 to tax a car for a year? And all you're getting is tax. You're not getting anything for it. You're just getting that you're allowed to go on the road. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Anyway, I'm going to be going now. So if you've got any questions, be quick, because yeah, I'm going to go. But I know in other countries, what is anyone in the UK still here? What is a 2.2 litre car to tax for the year? How much is it? Before I go, it'd be interesting to know. it'll be sickening because it'll annoy me because it'll be so cheap compared to here. It varies roughly. Do they crush cars in Ireland if you don't pay the road tax? No, I mean, well, technically yes, but what will happen here is, I don't know, around 180ish. Yeah, again. So look, we'll even say, let's say at the most 250, right? So you're paying 250, which I know it's not, but let's just 250. 250. Where's my? So 250 sterling is 290 euros, right? 290 euros. Well, for that car, we're paying 960 euros. So that's what? 960. Oh, 960 is £827. What's it? 220 for 220 or for a 2.2. We're paying 827. 827 sterling for that 2.2, just the tax for a year. That's the difference. That's the fucking difference. That's why you don't see big cars. Vans and Jeeps have bigger cars or bigger engines, but you get commercial rate of tax. So it's 333 for the year, but you're not allowed back seats. So again, that's another thing that when we first moved to Ireland, I found weird. You'd have a Toyota Land Cruiser, right? You will not find, well, it's not that you will not find, you're very difficult to find a Toyota Land Cruiser with back seats in Ireland. You won't find it because that 3-litre engine is 1,800 euros to tax for the year. So we have what's called commercial, so they have no back seats in, which makes it 333. So you'll have Land Cruisers, Toyota Jeeps with no back seats in, because it's 1,800 euros to tax that car if it's got back seats in. It doesn't make sense, but just if you take the back seats out, it's then commercial. It's classed as a van, not a car. If it has seats in, it's classed as a car, which you then have to pay private tax on. If it's classed as a commercial vehicle, you only have to pay 333. Now there is some loopholes. You can turn it into a crew cab and stuff like that, but that's very difficult, and it's just annoying. Do you have tray plates over there? Yes, we do have tray plates. We do. If you shoehorn a big engine into a car and say nothing to the tax man, I'm sure, will you get an NCT? Does the NCT folk do anything? Well, it's like everything. Yes, look, you can put a bigger engine in your car. Of course you can. And it will go through a test as long as there's no rust or anything on it, or there's nothing gone on it. It will go through a test. That's not a problem. And yes, you don't have to tell your insurance. Again, you can get away with it, but it's not a problem till it is a problem. So if you have an accident, you are fucked. You are not insured. You are completely and utterly fucked. If someone even hits into you and it's not your fault, you are fucked. It's the same as driving with no insurance. So the problem is, yes, you can do it. And I know people, especially years ago when I was like 19, 20, there was lads bringing Evos in from Japan, and they were being put down a logbook as a 1.3 because an Evo was very difficult to insure. So, and we was all getting away with it. I never did it because I wasn't a big Evo. I liked Evos, but I'm more of a Ford person, as you can see from the cars I've got. But it's just not worth the risk, because yes, you can do it. And at that time, the cops didn't do anything. They knew, but they just didn't give a shit. It was great. It was brilliant. But if you have an accident, you're fucked. So you might as well, if you're going to do that, you honestly might as well have no insurance. It's the same thing. You're going to get done for the same thing. So you might as well just drive around with no insurance. It's the same thing. Back in the 90s, I had a Sierra with a CTI number plate on it. Always got pulled by the police and thought What is a CXI number plate? You were looking at CXI number plate. I don't get it. What's the CXI number plate? Unless it's, you mean, but yeah. So it's just one of them things where, look, you can do anything. You can, you can drive a car at 200 mile an hour. As long as you don't get caught, it's not really a problem. But when you get caught, it's a problem. I know people that do put bigger engines into cars, but again, it's not simple, is it? Because if you put a bigger engine into a car, oh, Northern Ireland plate, okay, fair enough. The You put bigger engine into a car, you need a donor car, because you need to get all the wiring loom and everything off that car. Again, back in the day, even now, I mean, I drive cars with English plates on all the time. My ST Mondeo had English plates on. Never once had an issue. Never once. I went through so many checkpoints and never once had a problem. I had a trade plate and I had insurance, so I was fine. But technically, the car was on English plates. The cops won't say boo to you, but the customs, on the other hand, if they catch you, you're fucked. It's as simple as that. And the customs have more power than the police. If I go through a checkpoint with trade insurance and a trade plate on an English car, and I can prove I'm doing it for work, there's not a lot they can really do. I mean, they might pull you over, they might start asking you questions, but they know there's not a lot they can really do. So it's not worth the hassle. They just say go on. But if you owe a lot of money on that car, so let's imagine we'll say it's a fairly new BMW, right? And the import duty on that car is 20 grand. Then I can assure you the customs are going to be after you, because that's 20 grand that you owe the state. So they're going to be on top of you. Then you're not going to be driving it around for too long. Now, where I am, the chances are you're going to get away with it for a long time, because you're not in a big city. You're kind of in the middle of nowhere. In Dublin, you're not going to get away with it for a few days. You're fucked. In Cork, any big city, you're going to be fucked straight away. But kind of in the country, you're going to kind of be all right to a degree. Now, if you get stopped by the customs, normally they will give you time. Now, if you get an arsehole, it's like everywhere, it's like everything, he might take it off you straight away, because they'll know when the car came into the country. And legally in Ireland, you've 24 hours. You can bring a car from the UK or any other country. You've got 24 hours to sort that car out. So after 24 hours, you're fucked. And they can actually check it out. If you came on the boat from Holyhead to Dublin, right, they'll know that you came in 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago or 6 weeks ago. And believe me, if the customs are coming after you, they're going to have their homework done. They know straight away how long that car's been in the country. They'll have photographic evidence. They'll know. So they're just waiting for you to lie. If you say, "Oh, I've just got it," you'd be like, "No, you haven't. We know." So there's no point lying to them. If you lie to them, you're going to they're going to take the car off you. If you say, "Yeah, I've had it a few weeks. I'm just, I just don't have the money or whatever," but you give them a proper excuse, there's a chance they're going to say, "Right, you've got so many days to get it sorted. And if we see you again, we're going to take the car off you." So it's like when I see people speeding, especially in America, and the cop says, "Do you know how fast you're going?" Or this is anywhere. The cops, "Do you know how fast you're going?" And you're doing, say, 60 mile an hour. In a 60 mile an hour zone, you're doing 80 mile an hour, right? The cops know you're doing 80 mile an hour. What's the fucking point of lying? If you say, "Oh, I was doing 60, mate," they know you was doing 80. They're just there testing you to see if you're going to lie. Because if you lie to them, bang, they're going to do you. And I know people say, "Oh, never tell the cops how fast you were going." They fucking know. They've got it on the speed radar. They've got it on their car. Whatever they happen to use, they've got it. There's no point lying. If you tell the truth, say, "Yeah, look, I'm sorry. I was speeding. You know, there's no point saying, oh, I'm late for something, whatever. You just say, yeah, look, sorry, I was speeding, just having a good time, whatever. The chances are you're going to get away with it if you keep saying, look, I'm really sorry, yes, I was speeding, I'm fucking stupid, don't do it, I won't do it again, I apologize. You lie to them straight away. Look, I don't give a fuck. You're going down. They're going to do you. And I was only speaking to a cop about this the other day. And I said, look, and he's heard all the excuses. He said, every time you pull someone for speeding, there's always a funeral. He said, the amount of funerals that if people are for speeding, he says, you wouldn't fucking believe. Everyone's going to a funeral. It's bullshit. And they know it's bullshit. They're going to do you because, you know, it's cut and dry. You were speeding. If you tell the truth, there's a chance you're still going to get done, but you're going to get done anyway. So why lie? Try and say, look, I'm sorry, I was speeding, I was fucking stupid, blah, blah, blah. There's a chance, a small chance, but there's a chance you're going to get away with it. And look, if you can get away with it, you can get away with it. Because at the end of the day, the cop can let you go if he really wants to. If you're being an arsehole to, oh, fucking, why don't you catch a real criminal? You got nothing to fucking do. You think he's going to let you go? No. What he's going to do is he's then going to stop. He's then going to look at all your tyres. He's going to look at your he's going to look at everything, and you're going to get done. Because the chances are, let's put it this way. If a cop wants to do you, he'll find something on your car that is illegal. They just will, right? So you got done for speeding and you're being a prick to him. He's then going to, well, you've got a bald tyre. So you're going to get done for a bald tyre as well. Where if you shut your fucking mouth, you'd have just got done for speeding. Or if you apologised, there's a chance you might have got away with it. You see what I'm saying? So just don't lie. They've got you. They know what speed you were doing. They're just testing you. Good evening to everyone in late. How you doing, mate? There was a big clampdown in Derry Donegal border a few years ago. People using Derry address and taxing cars. Yeah. I mean, you know, it does happen because everyone knows. It's only when you come to Ireland you realise just how expensive Ireland is. Londonderry, you mean? Bra in a pub. I looked at one of the motor tax lists. Jesus, it's ridiculous, the price of tax. I'm telling you, I know people don't realise. That's a piss stain rag in your background. Wow, that's the best you've got. That is the best you've got, Tommy. You fucking idiot. But yes, no, tax and stuff like that is just, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I was actually thinking about doing a video because just basically saying to people, look, if you, especially with you know, speeding and stuff, there's just no point. You're fucked anyway, so you might as well try and get away with it. And the best way of getting away with it is being polite and apologise rather than being an arsehole. And when you think about it, it makes sense. Might have been Letterkenny. I know there was on the border because there was always a thing, and it's still to this day it's a thing where if you're on the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland, no matter where that border is, let's say, for example, you've got caught speeding, right? Now, if the cop's got ANPR or a camera on there, you're fucked anyway because they're going to get your number plate. Even if they can't get you in it, they're going to say, well, who was driving it? And if you say, well, I don't know who was driving it, well, they say, well, someone stole your car and they didn't realize who was driving it. But anyway, if you could get over the border, whether it's in Ireland to Northern Ireland or Northern Ireland to Ireland, the cops can't keep chasing you. So so you basically you can get away with it. There was a famous story years ago. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was some big criminal, I think, some big drug dealer or something. Anyway, he had a big shed, and it was half in Northern Ireland and half in Ireland. And what happened was, for years, the Northern Ireland police would come in and raid him, and he would literally move all his stuff to Ireland, and they couldn't do anything because they're in another country. So the Northern Ireland police couldn't come to Ireland and take the stuff off him. Even if they could see drugs or anything in front of him, there's nothing they could do because it wasn't in their jurisdiction. It's a completely different country. It's like Canada and America. Think of it that way. You know, they are connected, but they're two different countries. And then when the Irish police came, he would basically run across to the north, but it was in one shed. And this supposedly was going on for years and years and years until the Northern Ireland police and Irish police came together and raided at the same time. And then there's nothing he could do because no matter what side he was on, there was a police force there to get him. But it took a long time for them to talk to each other and kind of come up with some sort of plan. So yeah, he was just literally walking from one. Can you imagine a load of police come into you, like we're talking, you know, police with armed police and absolutely everything coming into you, and you just literally walking down to the end of your shed and saying, what the fuck are you going to do? And there was nothing they could do. It was absolutely fucking hilarious. 300k for a curtain. Nice new built mention. He was Irish Republican. Where has the big man Tommy gone? Big man hiding behind his keyboard. Made a football pitch in the back garden for the local kids. The local didn't like the pub mind. Was friendly. Mind you, my boss was a bit of a wannabe posh twat. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But that's just what used to happen. And like I said, you'll know going in because there's no border now. So you can go from Northern Ireland to Ireland, you know, really easy. But you know instantly when you're in Northern Ireland from Ireland because the roads are completely different. They use different everything. The road signs go from kilometres to mile an hour. And you just automatically see every time you drive into the north, you just automatically see bigger cars. I don't mean bigger as in like physically bigger, but you know, if you was to see, you're not going to see a lot of like 1.2s and 1.3 cars over there. They'll all be 1.6 and 2 litres and bigger because, you know, they're more common, they're easier to get, and the tax is a hell of a lot cheaper. I'm not saying you don't get, you know, 1 litres and stuff, because you do, but what I mean is in general, the cars have bigger engines over there. They're bigger specs. They're just bigger. So yeah, anyway, I'm off. And hope everyone has a great Halloween. And don't forget, look at this. Check out my new merch. Look at that. Yeah. Mate, 300k is nothing for posh curtains. I've done gold leaf curtains before. Gold leaf on the clutch. 120k doing. Anyway, we'll see you later. Hope everyone has a good one. And yeah, as always, don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one. Sorted.